Hey boys and girls, welcome to tonight's flip video. This is a continuation of converting distance. Last week we were doing converting US, now we're going to do the metric system. So our three metric distance measurements, we have the meter, which is the biggest, it's about a yardstick. We've got the centimeter, which is a little under half an inch. And we've got the millimeter, which is about the thickness of a credit card. Now it's important to know how many are in each one. And the metric system may seem confusing to you because we don't use the metric system in America most of the time. Some things do. But it actually is a little bit easier to remember because it's all based on tens and hundreds and thousands. So from millimeter to centimeter, there are 10. It's pretty straightforward. And from centimeter to meter, there are 100. So, if we're doing that, if it takes 10 millimeters to make 1 centimeter, and then 100 centimeters to make a meter, we then also know that it takes 1,000 millimeters to make a meter. So I'd recommend pausing your video now, and you can either write it like this, with the arrows, or you can write it out as like a chart form. But it's important to know that there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter, 100 centimeters in a meter, and 1,000 millimeters in a meter. Now, there's a really easy way that my class and I came up with last year, and it all revolves around the phrase, Meg, call Millie. Millie is my great-grandmother. This picture of her is her on her, I think this was her 96th birthday party. That was a couple years ago. And my cousin's name is Megan. And I was hanging out with my cousin, and I said, Meg, call Millie, because Millie's my grandmother's name, and sometimes we call her that. So I realized that that expression could also help me remember my conversions. And it'll make sense here in a moment. So what you do is, Meg represents meters, call represents centimeters, and Millie represents millimeters. And it is very, very important that you have this comma here, because that helps you with your jumps. So in this example, I've got 5 meters and I want to change it into centimeters. What I do is I'll put a little dot here under Meg, and I'm going to centimeters. So I jump 2 times. Now on the number 5, what I will do here is I'll put a decimal point to the right of the number, because that's where it always goes, and then I'll move it, jump, decimal point's now there, and I need to fill those loops in with zeros. So 5 meters actually is 500 centimeters. So let's switch colors and do that for another one. So 10 millimeters would start at milli, and I want to go to the meters. So I jump from milli to call to the comma, jump. So I did 1 jump, 2 jump, 3 jumps. So I put my decimal point to the right, because you always have to put it on the right. I jump in between once, jump, and then jump. I put in my decimal point, and I put in a 0. So 10 millimeters is 0.01 meters, and I would also put a 0 in front just to help me out. So you see, it makes it pretty easy. I could multiply or divide by 10, and you're welcome to do that, but I find just moving the decimal point helps me make sure that I'm proper. So the last one, I have 25 centimeters. So I've got 25 centimeters, and I want to go to meters. So I put my point at call for centimeters. I jump. That makes it a 1 jump. I jump again. That gives me 2 jumps. So I put my decimal point here. I jump. Decimal point's now there. I don't have to add any zeros because there's no open little jumps there. So 0.0 or 0.25. And now let's also change that 25 centimeters into millimeters. So I'm at centimeters. Now I'm changing it to millimeters. Jump 1 time. So I jump my decimal points here. Jump it once here. Put my decimal. Fill in a 0. So 250 millimeters is the same as centimeters. 25 centimeters. So a couple points to remember. Sometimes you will have to add in zeros. If you notice, like in this example, And on this example, I did have to add in zeros to fill in my gaps. Another point to consider is that the decimal point, no matter what, always starts on the right. Then I decide which direction to move in based on if I move from this way or if I move this way. The biggest point to consider is you do need that comma. That's because this would be 1 millimeter, that'd be 10 millimeters, 100 millimeters, 1,000 millimeters, which makes 1 meter. So it's very important to have that. And ME starts like millimeters, or meters, milli starts like millimeters. So your bring back to school problem is I've got 15 meters, I'd now like that in centimeters. I've got 2 centimeters, I'd like that in meters. I've got 78 millimeters, and I would like that in meters. So remember your expression about my cousin and who she needs to call, and this will be your problem to bring back to school.